Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience. And in today's video, I am reflecting on 22 things I've learned in 22 years. So I'm currently about to turn 23. I don't know when this video will come out, but I'm about to turn 23 years old. And I've learned a few things in this past 22 years that I want to share with you. And I'm always growing, I'm always open to new things. I love the trajectory that I'm going on in my life. And I just wanted to share some stuff that I've learned that has put me in a better environment. Things that I'm just implementing in my life that has made it so much better, has made the quality of my life of all different categories. So it's financial, personal. I'm just gonna reflect on it. Before we get into that, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let's get straight into this video. So I've written down notes, so I just don't want to forget my thought process because this is something I've been reflecting on since I turned 22 years old, just being in a much different environment than I could have ever dreamed of. So the first thing is, don't take on other people's dreams as your own, even if you have to work on your own dreams. I remember going to a graduation and the person who was giving the speech said, one of the worst things in life is to spend your whole life climbing a building, trying to get to the top, getting to the top, and then realizing you've been climbing the wrong building the entire time. Taking on other people's dreams as your own can be very detrimental, and especially if it's like your parents' dreams, people in your family, your community's dreams. We're individuals, but we're in a community. You have to be responsible for your dreams and going after your dream and your purpose. When we're being created by God, we each have our own purpose. And of course, there are times when people think they know what's best for us, especially when you're younger, people make decisions for you. But once you get to a certain age, you have to start making those decisions on your own. Even if it's difficult, even when people don't approve of that decision, you have to stand strong and firm in it if that's where you think that God put you on the path for. And everybody won't agree, but when they see that the end, and when they see what's going on and the journey you're going on, they will finally realize what you see all along. So if you're waiting for everybody to go through with everything in your dreams and to support you, cheer you on, of course you're gonna have those people. And if you have a supportive group of friends and family, they will too. But it doesn't always happen, and that's okay. As long as you stand firm in you and your faith, that's good enough. The second thing I learned is to be a good and quality friend, to add value to the lives of your friends. Something I like to routinely do is ask myself, what value am I adding to my friends' lives? And this started in high school when I heard that you are the average of your 4 best friends. So take a look at your 4 best friends and see what qualities they show. And more likely than not, they're a reflection of you. Not always, of course. And so I realized that a lot of times in high school, especially, when I became friends with people, I was always trying to make sure that they're on their top academic goals. Like, that was the thing. I would not want to see my friend fail in the class and not do anything. No, I want my friends to do good. I want them to succeed academically. I used to send my friends scholarships all the time because I'm the type of person that applied for so many scholarships. Hundreds. Now, I like to talk to my friends a lot about finances, retirement plans, emergency fund, budgeting. Because why? I want my friends to be in a good financial standing now and in the future, so they can succeed with their family, so that they can afford to go after their goals and not be bound by money. I like to ask myself, what value am I adding? Is it positive or is it negative? And if you're adding no good qualities to the lives of your friends, you need to assess what type of friends you are. Be a good friend. Be a listener. I've really learned to be a listener. This space in this world for every single person, and be happy for people. Cheer on your friends. Learn how to be happy for other people and to celebrate their success is great. It's not even to be like, okay, then they'll celebrate mine. That's not what you're getting out of it. So always be a good quality friend. And that's something that I've learned and I'm implementing now to make sure that I'm positively impacting each and every single one of my friends. The third thing I learned is to be humble without making myself small for people to walk all over. And this is really important when you come from a culture where, as a young person, you are like at the bottom of respectability. You're taught to respect your elders and people who are older than you. And that's very good because we live in a communal environments, and a lot of times with age comes wisdom and experience. But I've learned to be humble, whether it's in my career, my friendships, my relationships, but do not take that as a way of me being walked all over. I don't play those things. I am able to voice my opinion. We can agree to disagree on things. It's all like, good vibes. But at the end of the day, I do stand up for myself. I am a person that stands up for myself, mostly because I'm a grown woman. And I stand up for myself to make sure that people do not misunderstand who I am. And I'm not going like super hard or anything, but I'm not gonna let people walk all over me. There's no reward called the most humble person allowing people to walk all over them. There is no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Instead, you just have messed up boundaries. You have people talking, misunderstanding you in the wrong ways. And that's not a good position to be in. So I've learned to stand up for myself, to continue to stand up for myself. It's not gonna be aggressive. It's not gonna be a fight, but I still stand up for myself. The fourth thing I've learned, of course, if you've been on this channel for any given time, is about financial literacy. I'm so glad to continue educating myself on finances and the role of finances. There's so much I still have to learn, like so much. And every day I like to stay up to date and educate myself, learning to info more, that I don't have to work till I'm 70 years old or work till I'm dead, because I want to be in a good position and to learn things and to put myself in a situation where I can pay for my kids' college, where I can put a down payment on their houses, where they don't have to take care of me because I've taken care of myself by saving for retirement since I'm, being in my 20s. I want to make sure that I can buy them a car for graduation or something. Those are the things that you can do once you learn about financial literacy and put yourself in a good position. Then maybe I can take my kids to private school one day. I want to build generational wealth so my kids don't have to go through the exact same financial situations that I'm going through. I don't want them to be spoiled, rotten, or anything, but I have bigger dreams for them, and I want them to be in a better financial position. And for me, that's one of the motivations. Like, I want to make sure that I am in a good financial situation before I bring anybody into this world. So learning financial literacy has really changed who I am. It's made me more intentional. It's made me really think about the world around me, the things around me, and the people around me. I don't need a Birkin bag or red bottom shoes to feel validated in who I am. What is more important to me? And that's something that you really want to start looking into. And once you start learning finances and you start being intentional with your finances, so many questions in your life would be answered. And of course, I've learned to budget, save, and invest, and never lend money. The fifth thing I've learned is that it is okay to change your mind. I used to be one of those people who used to be like very black and white in high school, and towards college I moved towards the gray area, and now I'm really standing firm in my faith and in what I believe in. And I've changed my mind on certain things, and I've become okay with that. Because if I'm wrong, I don't want to double down and go 10 toes deep in it and stand in my wrongness. I have the free will to change my mind and to be like, okay, I used to think like this, but no more. And I've changed my mind on several things. And how I see the world is always changing. Whether the more I learn, the more I grow in my faith, the more I change the people around me, or like the people around me influence me. And if I'm wrong about something, I'm really ready to change my mind and to start going towards the right path. I don't need people's validation or people's forgiveness all the time to change my mind. And I don't need to be influenced by people's betrayal to keep standing in what I know is wrong because I don't want to offend them. What kind of life is that? So for me, I've made it okay for myself and give myself permission that if I find out that this is wrong, I can change my mind. And I've done that several times, and I continue to do that because that shows growth. That shows that I'm not thinking as the same 17, 18-year-old patient, because I used to look back and I'm like, why did I do that? And at the time, it seemed right because I was that age, and that based on those experiences, I made those decisions. But today, based on new experiences, I'm making a different set of decisions, and I'm taking on different set of actions because I know better, so I'm doing better. But I'm not going to stifle my growth because I'm afraid of being wrong. That is no way to live. The sixth thing I've learned is to build and exercise my moral compass. You have to know what you believe in, because if you don't stand for anything, you're going to fall for everything. And what I've come to find out in this world is that anything goes. It's all about live and let live. People do so many things that we excuse. So if you don't know what your morals are and you don't have a moral compass, if you don't draw the line somewhere, you're going to be bouncing off and on, and people are going to pull you here and there. And you're going to end up making so many mistakes and having so many regrets. You're going to save your time forgiving yourself of so many things just by drawing a line somewhere and exercising your moral compass. And for me, I had to start making these decisions when I moved away. What do I stand for? What are my morals? Who am I as a person? And what do I do as a person? You have to make your own assessments and draw your line somewhere. So I try to be intentional with my decisions, with my time, with what I plan, with what I do with my time, so that I don't have to look back years from now and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm still trying to forgive myself for the dumb stuff I do in my 20s. I heard something about live without regret in your 20s and then go to therapy in your 30s. And I remember thinking, I don't want to be in my 30s going to therapy, having all these regrets and outpouring of like bad relationship, bad career moves, regretful things that I did, because the body remembers. You find it the hardest to forgive yourself. So I'm trying to make sure that I know my moral compass. And again, I'm always growing, I'm always learning. There's grace in that, giving yourself grace for things you don't know. But when you know better, you do better. The seventh thing I've learned is that inner beauty counts. Inner beauty is something that comes with having, of course, the fruits of the Holy Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Like, it's something that you can have whether you have or don't have pretty privilege. I mean, I've heard so many video essays on pretty privilege, but we don't talk enough about inner beauty and having that beauty shine within. And that's what allows you to be happy to be around somebody for longer than like 5 seconds. Because if you're beautiful on the inside, like it exudes in them. And so for me, not only do I try to cultivate that in myself, but I look for people who have inner beauty that exude that. So because they're nicer to be around, they bring positivity, they bring about new light that is really beautiful and shines a light in this very dark world. So if you're not the type of person that focuses a lot on inner beauty, it's never too late to cultivate it. I had to look above. Beauty and youth is fleeting, but inner beauty is something that is everlasting. That's why when you go around like older women, they're always those like sweeter older women where people like to be around, people like to hug. They're like a grandmother to everybody. They're like, you know, a mother to people. But then you go to other older people and then they're like bitter, and then they are just bitter about life, unhappy, miserable, you know, misery loves company. It's something they've carried on from their life. It is not cultivated the inner beauty within them, so nobody wants to be around them. Everybody thinks they're just not a great person, but because they don't have that inner beauty, and maybe they focus so much on their beauty in their youth that they didn't have time to cultivate that inner beauty, or they just bitter by life. But anyway, it's important for me to cultivate inner beauty, and that's something that I've done and continue to do. The eighth thing I've learned is that being authentic is better than aesthetics. So we live in this like aesthetic life where people are trying to like cultivate an aesthetics on their like social media pages and just everything. It's about aesthetics. What about being authentic? The most important thing is to learn to be yourself. You have to learn to be your best self and your most authentic self, because everybody else is taking. When we see all these people who take pictures of celebrities to like look like them, imitate them, you're still not the celebrity. No matter how much plastic surgery you get to look like them, no matter how much you change your closet, no matter how much you change your body, your attitude, your voice, you're still not them. Be yourself. Being fake is so exhausting. It's literally so exhausting. I have so much in my life that I cannot even take time to be fake. Imagine how much time it takes to like research somebody and like copy their whole aesthetic, buy the things that they buy, and then sometimes produce because you may or may not be able to afford what they're, you know, able to get. You know, cultivate your whole aesthetics around them and then pretend to be them, pretend to like what they like. It's exhausting. It's demanding mentally and physically. Overall, you're like passing up time that you can get to know yourself. Use the time that you have to get to know yourself. What do you like? What do you believe in? Who are you? What do you stand for? And when you use that time to develop yourself rather than developing to be somebody else, you are not going to have to walk through this life being a shell of a person, not knowing who you are and what you stand for. So be authentic rather than going for aesthetics. The ninth thing I've learned is to be a selfless person. And this is something that we don't talk about a lot in our environment or in our world today, because everything is about me, I. And to a certain extent, because America is such an individualistic society, of course, like sometimes you just have to like put yourself first in a lot of things, but still be selfless. Just be a kind person. Learn to participate in the world around you, whether it's your church, extracurricular activities, volunteering. be that person that adds value to other people's lives. And everything you do does not have to have some sort of future gain. So when you go out and you volunteer for little kids, it's not because, something has to be at the end of the rainbow. I was a Sunday school teacher for 5 years. And what did I gain out of it? So I learned how to be patient. Like, those things teach you things that are invaluable. That I'm not that anymore, but now I do other things in my church, and I still offer services and try to be of service wherever that I can. And that's how it is to be a functioning person in society. Being able to give unto people. Again, kindness, goodness, being able to volunteer your time. It doesn't always have to be monetary, but being just a good person, being a kind person to bring light into somebody's day. And that's something that we don't place enough value on, but it is very valuable. The 10th thing I've learned is that cheap things are expensive. Sometimes do not cheap out on things, whether it's technology, an apartment, car, clothes. Make sure that you buy quality. And quality doesn't have to be super expensive. Of course, buy quality for your means and what you can afford. But I've learned that, for example, clothes. I've had this dress for ever. I think it's since high school. That's how long I've had this dress, because it's quality. I think I even got it from the thrift store. But over the recent years, what I've moved towards is buying less clothes and buying more quality clothes. So instead of spending $200 on 15 pieces of clothes that are gonna last me just a few months, I'm gonna have to toss away and create waste in this world, I'm rather just gonna save that money and buy a few pieces of clothes, and sometimes even get clothes sold for me for good quality that will last me a long time. When I look in my closet, I still have some clothes from high school, college that I've taken good care of, that are still lasting me. So those are clothes. Apartments, making sure that you live in a good environment, a safe environment, because you can go buy a cheap apartment and it could be infested with pests, or it could be dangerous that you get robbed, violence, so many things can go wrong. So make sure that, again, you're not living above your means, but within your means, you go for things that are good quality, that are going to enhance your quality of life. That's not super cheap. Sometimes you see things that are so cheap, and then you're I'm gonna buy it, but realistically speaking, it just can't be that cheap. So why are you getting it? Do not kid yourself. It is one of those things I've really had to learn, because I'm a budgeter and I like to save money, but I also want to make sure that I'm looking at the long run and the quality lasts. The 11th thing I have learned is to stop trying to prove myself to people and to just follow God's purpose in my life. Let me tell you, if you're going to try to impress everybody, try to please everybody with your life, you're going to live a miserable life. And sometimes people are just haters. Some people are just miserable, and misery loves company. So they just want to drag you down from your purpose that God has for you into their sunken place, because they want somebody to be miserable with. And do not be that person who allows yourself to be. So for me, I am just in that state of mind where I'm just trying to be my most authentic self. I talk about authenticity, I just want to be the person that proves to myself to be a better person myself. My goal is always to be better today, better tomorrow than I am today. And so I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I just want to make myself proud and make God proud. That's it. If me trying to do that offend somebody, that's a them problem. It got nothing to do with me. So I just try to live my purpose and let people who are miserable be miserable. You can't please everybody. The 12th thing is that you don't have to have your entire life figured out. And this is one of the scariest realizations that I got to, because I'm the type of person, I like to plan ahead. I used to be very rigid, to be honest, and not that flexible. And I used to feel like I had to have everything figured out. And so 2 years ago, when I started getting job offers, all the way up to the beginning of last year, when I still hadn't found a job, because I used to go through jobs, and that was because I couldn't decide where I wanted to go. I was just going through all these interviews. I was having such a tough time coming to the realization that, patience, you're only 21 years old at a time. You don't have to have the rest of your life figured out. But I felt like I had to. And I was driving myself crazy trying to have everything figured out. But I don't have to have everything figured out. Because if you did, then what's life worth living? I'm not God. I don't know. So whatever comes my way, I'm going to be okay. And I'm not going to give myself a hard time for not knowing or for not seeing every single thing. I'm only human. It's okay not to have everything figured out. The next thing follows the same rule of I don't know everything. I know sometimes when you're younger, you like thought you did, and I definitely thought I did know a lot of stuff. And I look back, like I'm like, oh my goodness, like why was I so wrong? As you grow, you learn. If I knew everything, it's like, what would I need God for? What would I need to even live for? Like, what am I doing? I don't know everything. And that's why I rely on God. That's why I rely on my experiences to teach me. That's why I'm going through life. That's why I'm 22 years old, about to turn 23. I just don't know everything. And that's okay. When you become okay with not knowing everything and then open your eyes and, to learn more, to read more, to educate yourself, to try new skills, that's where the experience comes in. Even people who've lived life longer still don't know everything. I'm never gonna know everything. And that's okay, because I'm not supposed to. The 14th thing is to build strong boundaries. Boundaries are one of those things that a lot of people try to put in place, but often are not successful. But why? It's because you're not reinforcing your boundaries. Reinforce your boundaries. If you tell people not to call you around this time, people not to come up and just barge in without calling you first, reinforce it. Positive and negative reinforcements are something I learned in psychology. Positive reinforcement doesn't mean it's a good thing. Positive reinforcement means that you are allowing that behavior and it's more likely to occur. So basically, you have reinforced that behavior, it's more likely to occur. An example of that is somebody asks you for money and you give it to them. Well, they're more likely to ask you for money again and again and again. If you keep giving it to them, that's positive reinforcement. It's more likely to occur. Negative reinforcement, on the other hand, is to stop that behavior from occurring over and over again. So for example, somebody asks you for money, you're like, I don't have it. I can't give you this money. And then they ask for money again and then you still don't give it to them. Well, it's less likely to occur. They're not going to keep coming back to you over and over and over again. Well, they might, but after a while, they will stop. That's negative reinforcement. You're stopping it from happening. It's not a bad thing. So with your boundaries, whichever it is, be sure to reinforce it. Do not be that person that allows people to walk all over your boundaries. The people who do not support your boundaries often are people who benefit from you not having any. And if you don't have any boundaries, people just take advantage of you, or you feel taken advantage of. A lot of times we allow people to do stuff to us and then we get mad at the end because we feel taken advantage of. People are using us. We didn't reinforce our boundaries. And so for me, and not feeling used, not feeling taken advantage of, not having any regrets, I just reinforced those boundaries. And so I live a life like, it's like, okay, I'm good. If you're able to reinforce your boundaries, it puts you in a much better situation. And you don't have to manage yourself and other people. Because some people don't even know your boundaries. Make it clear, state it, reinforce it with your actions. If you don't seem to respect your boundaries, nobody else will. 15 is that imposter syndrome has no barrier on my life. I used to struggle with this a lot, like in my early college years. I don't know the moments when I become an engineer. Engineering is one of those things that people start engineering like one semester and start calling themselves engineers. Isn't that? Like, I like the confidence in that, but I could never really do that. And I've never been one of those people to lead with my careers. It's just one of those things. It's like, okay, when do I actually feel like an engineer? When I had my first official engineering internship after my sophomore year, I still somehow felt like, okay, I'm not like an engineer enough. Like, I don't know everything about engineering. But then I realized that the company didn't expect me to. I had just had 2 years of engineering, and most of this was prerequisites engineering classes. They did not expect a fully experienced engineer. I thought they would have hired one. They hired me because they wanted to invest in me. And even coming into my career, I decided after my last internship that, you know what, I am who I am, and I am a learning engineer. I'm a developing engineer, and after I graduated as an engineer, I became an engineer, and I worked as an engineer. I'm learning. Now I am an early career engineer, and I'm learning more. I give myself grace, and instead of having this imposter syndrome that's like, oh my goodness, I don't know everything. What if they know that I don't know this? I don't know this. They already know. So why bother yourself thinking about all that? If they wanted an experienced engineer, they would have hired one. And with that, I have alleviated myself out of so much anxiety and stress, and I'm doing so much better at my job, and I'm doing so much better in my personal life because I don't have to feel like I'm not this much of an engineer. And I am an early career engineer. That's exactly what I am, and that's okay. The 16th thing I've learned is to heal and move on. I mean, you don't have to forget everything, but just heal and move on. And that's a process that I am still going through. It's not a one and done thing because there's always something underlining. There are things that you hide, but go to therapy if you need to. Therapy is so underrated. I know nowadays people are going from therapy to therapy. I feel like some people are just looking for therapists to validate their delusions. But for me, I am looking for like a Christian therapist to like really help me. I'm not just trying to have somebody who's going to co-sign on like my non-Christian behaviors. I want to make sure that I'm moving towards a positive light. So you want to go to a therapist that understands who you are, a Christian therapist if you're Christian, or who has similar beliefs to who you are. But make sure that you just heal and move on. Stop like carrying all these baggages. Once you let a lot of things go and you have stopped having like all these expectations that you keep getting disappointed in, you just have to heal and move on, because you can't just keep living in the past. It's traumatizing you over and over and over again, and you're allowing things to re-victimize you. Easier said than done, but sometimes it leads to even trauma bonding with people who you're not supposed to trauma bond with, and that's what leads to either abusive relationship or codependent relationships, or these like emotionally intense relationships, toxic. So I've like learned to like not emotionally dump on people, to not be trauma bonding with people, to, of course, you want to talk to friends. You go through stuff, you need friends there to talk with you, but I don't need to relive everything all over again. And sometimes memories comes flooding back. Sometimes you think of like a really harsh time in your life and you're like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe I went through this and I got through this. But you want to work things out emotionally, heal and move on. Do not let your past hold you back. There's a reason why it's in the past. Leave it there. Get as much baggage as you can off and move faster. You can't just be dragging so much emotions with you, and you feel so much lighter. I don't think there's going to be ever a time when you are like completely done, because you're still going through the human experience. You're still going to deal with disappointments. You're still going to go through just emotionally traumatizing things sometimes, but let things go. You get nothing from carrying it over and over again. Learn the lesson, heal, and move on. We're number 17, and that is that outside is not as fun as it looks. FOMO, YOLO, everything. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to not participate. A really prominent mindset I see in this generation especially is like experience. Like, oh, we want to experience things. People learn from experiences. You don't have to learn from your own experiences. You can learn from other people's experiences. It costs less, it is less emotionally damaging, less traumatizing. I did not need to be a teenage mother to know how difficult it is to be one. I don't have to experience drug addiction to know how expensive and how damaging it can be. Why? Because we see examples around us. There's so many documentaries, so many recorded literature about it. So one of the things is that you don't have to experience everything in life, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to experience everything. It's okay to draw the line somewhere. I want good experiences. I want positive experiences. It's okay. I'll partake in some experiences and I'll leave the others. The 18th thing is having perspective and purpose in my life and grounding myself in those. So of course I identify as a Christian. I've been talking a lot about my faith in this video, and that's a lot of stuff that I've been working through and helped me get to this point in my life. Being a Christian is part of my purpose, my identity in life, and my perspective. So I like to view the world through a Christian lens. So as I learn more about God and I go through and I become a better person, I like to see the world and the world around me in that perspective. And that trickles down to a lot of stuff, including eating healthy. If I believe that my body is the temple of God and I want to make sure it is as healthy as possible, I try to eat as clean as possible. Even lifelong learning is part of it. I want to keep learning. I want to learn my career, the perspective of my career and who I want to impact and how I want to impact the world. That's perspective that I've really learned to embrace. What is my purpose in this world, and how to see the world from the perspective of a Christian, a person who wants to be a better person, as a person who wants to live a healthy lifestyle and to keep learning. The 19th thing is to enjoy life. Now, I know I talk a lot seriously about things like this, budgeting, but enjoy life. Life is meant to be enjoyed. The world is beautiful. God made a beautiful world out there. Travel, experience new things, good things. Making sure that you try different foods. I've been trying to expand my palate. Like I go and I see a lot of food recipes that I want to try. You don't have to keep living the exact same life. The world is a big place. It's beautiful. There's a reason why every place is not the same. Enjoy life. Make sure you set a vacation experience category in your budget to experience life. I do that all the time. I want to make sure that I'm traveling. I will have so many places I want to go visit, trips that I want to take. Of course, I'm budgeting for it. Of course, I'm saving up for it. But I'm definitely going to experience that. I'm not going to be too frugal and be like, okay, I'm going to wait till I'm 50 to go on a vacation. I'm not doing that. I'm still going to do that and live life, experience things. That's one of the things that makes life worth living. The 20th thing is that you don't have to take advice from people who you would not go to for advice. And this is something I've really learned because I come from a culture where a lot of people like to give unsolicited opinions. And it's not always a bad thing. They're outliers, of course, but I don't have to take unsolicited opinions. Sometimes it's a reason why I didn't go to that person for opinions. And one of the things that I've really learned is that sometimes, depending on what the advice is, look at the life of the person, the life you're living right now, and ask yourself, would I want to change places with that person? And the answer is no, and they're trying to get you to be like them. Don't take that advice. You don't have to take those advice from everybody. Just because advice is given doesn't mean it should be advice taken. Sometimes I just chalk it up to something I'll keep at the back of my mind and nothing else. I listen to people, I give the people respect to listen to them, but not doing what people tell me to do in my life today doesn't mean I'm disrespecting them, because I am living my life now. And I'm in a stage of my life where I'm responsible for not just my entire life, but the consequences will fall on me. So if people tell me to do certain things and I don't do them, it's not because I'm disrespecting them. And just because they feel disrespected, you don't have to take it personal. I don't internalize people's opinions of me anymore. So if people give me an advice and I'm like, okay, thank you for doing that, but I'm not doing it. Or I just don't tell them when they see me, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that. And they feel disrespected and they think I'm a disrespectful person, that has nothing to do with me, because I'm living my life. And that's the exact same way. If I give somebody advice and they don't do it, I don't think they're a disrespectful person for not doing it. I just think they're doing what's best for them in their life. And so I think we have to get to a place where we're okay with not taking advice from people, and especially if you come from a culture that feels like just because somebody's older and has more experiences, you have to take every single advice they give you and grasp it. And if you don't do that, you're a bad person. Think about it. I listen, I see if it aligns with my morals, my purpose, and if it doesn't, I'm not doing it. And I do not internalize their criticism of me. There's a reason why I'm not going to them for advice. The 21st thing I've learned is that I love me. And that's sometimes people don't always take that the right way. They think somehow it makes you vain or selfish. But I love me. Why? Because I know that I'm capable of love and I'm worthy of love, receiving and giving love. So why shouldn't I love myself? I shouldn't have to wait for somebody to love me to know that I'm capable of love. I know that I am, and I give love and I receive love because I'm created by God, who is all loving. So therefore, it is good that I love myself. God loves me. Loving yourself is not selfish. Putting yourself first is not selfish. So if you're in a place where you're struggling to love yourself, and love yourself doesn't come easy. You hear a lot of preachers talk about how love is a choice in marriage, but also love is a choice in that relationship with yourself. You have to wake up every single day and choose to love yourself, all in all. And of course, you're changing and you're working to be a better person, but you have to love yourself in the moments. You don't say, well, I will love myself once I lose 20 pounds. You can't say, well, I will love myself once I graduate from college. Or I will love myself once I'm making 6 figures. I will love myself once I put a down payment on a house. That's not when you love yourself. You start loving yourself now. And then in that love you have for yourself, you start making decisions that better yourself, that puts you in a good position in the future. And that's what I've really seen in me making good decisions, whether it's personal, financial, in relationships, is that I love myself. So I want to make sure I get the best for myself. I put up standards and boundaries for myself that will protect who I am on the inside and from harm's way. And to love myself enough to detach myself from things that are not good for me, to love myself enough to invest in myself, to love myself enough to only surround myself with positive people and put myself in a positive environment. And that is what it means to love yourself. And if you're in a situation where you can't love yourself at the moment, you're really finding it hard in a very abnormal way. So I know, like, I don't always wake up, I'm like, oh my goodness, I love myself. Like, that's not how it always goes. But if you're the type of person who's like suffering with self-hatred, you can't hide behind materialistic stuff. You have to do the inner work. You can't always receive love when you don't love yourself. Nobody can love you enough to love yourself. Find things that you love about yourself. And that's one of the ways I started, because I used not to always feel this way. It's not like I ever like hated myself, but I really never really put much thought into self-love. Instead, I focused and built a lot of my self-worth on my academics. And that's how I went through life, like especially from like very young age all the way to like entering college, especially the first year. Second year was when I really got challenged. And I had to start building my self-worth on something that was more substantial, which was the love of God. Because my academics was, and I thought I was gonna die. Because everything of who I was felt like it was crumbling. And building my self-worth on God is where it has been and where I flourished the most. If you put your self-worth and your worthiness of love on your career, academics, on your beauty, how much money you have, what happens when those things are gone? What happens if something happens to shake it? Those things can easily be shaken. The stock market was down 30% last year. Okay, so if you're basing on your money in the stock market and it tanked, what do you stand on now? If you're academics like me, if you get a C in swimming, who are you now? If you're the type of person who's, based on your outer beauty, and then something happens to you, or you get older, because we live in an ageism society, you hit 40, what happens? Start building your worth and your self-worth on something stronger now, and love yourself and use that love to do better for yourself. And the 22nd thing I have learned is that all of the experiences in my life for the past 22 years, good and bad, has made me who I am today. As I said before, we forgive ourselves for things that we did not know, for things that we thought were right at the moment, but then did and do not stand in today. But it's made you who you are. The struggles you went through, the trauma you went through. I don't wish trauma on anybody. Overcome it, and you're where you are this far. Know that you are built up from all those experiences, good and bad. But that's not your identity. That's not what you stand in. And because all your past experiences make up who you are, that's good and bad news, because it means that whatever actions you take from today, that I take from today, will determine my future. So if I'm like, okay, the past 22 years, many of which I was a minor, has made me who I am today, what does that say about me next year, and the year after, and 10 years from now, and 20 years from now? If I want to be a better person at 24, 34, and 44, I could put in actions now that will be accumulation of good things to make me a better person than who I am today. And we learn from the good and the bad, and we become a better person. I've learned to not get stuck in my past. I can't do anything about it. Why even spend time focusing so much on things that you cannot control? You can only control your now and your tomorrow. And tomorrow is not guaranteed. And me going into my 23rd year, I've made that decision that I want to be a better person, that I want to be more strong in my faith. I want to be authentic to who patience is. I want to be authentic to my innermost being. And that's what I'm focusing on. To focus on that inner beauty. To focus on building my boundaries. To being a quality friend. To being a quality sister. To being a productive member of society. And to put all of my hopes, my dreams, to the one who really matters most in my life. And that's God. And with that, I am bringing this video to an end. Oh my goodness, I feel like I've been talking forever, but I hope you stayed through the entire thing. And if you did, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments section, what have you learned in these past, however old you are? And what are you taking from this video to implement in your life, or what did you identify with? Is there any that you agree or even disagree with? I'm really interested to know what you think about it. But thank you all for listening. I've really thought deep about this. I've been working on this list for a very long time, and so I feel like it's where it stands now. As you know, I always have the right to change my mind. Like I said, I don't know everything. So if I don't identify with any of these in the future, I will let you know. And I'm very comfortable with changing that, but I'm always looking forward to growing, and I'm really looking forward to my 23rd year. I know it's going to be a blessing, and I'm looking forward to all the new experiences I'm going to experience. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.